Hi guys, my name is Jester, and this is going to be my Ghost Recon Breakpoint wish list. These are going to be features that are going to be easy to implement into the game. We have certain features already which could be modified to make way for these new features, and getting into that, we'll go through the list with like varying degrees of difficulty in terms of development and software limitations, etc. There are certain features on this list that will be very difficult to implement with the current software of the game. You know, the hard coding and all that stuff. I'm not a techie, so I don't know um, the terms for this, but you know, the game limitations as they stand right now. Um, it would be hard to implement these features. So before we get into the list, I'd like to say I'm leader of a milsim based in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. We're called ISAF milsim. Um, Realistic tactics, realistic branches. You know, U.S. Navy SEALs, Green Berets, um, Ranger Reconnaissance Company, and many more. Um, I'll leave my Discord down in the description. If you guys want to come over and check us out, um, just hit me up on Discord and I'll get you invited to the community. So without any further ado, let's hop into the list. Anyone that plays Ghost Recon Breakpoint that has played Ghost Recon Wildlands in the past knows that the patches were infinitely better in Wildlands. You had more options, more themes. You had patches which closely resembled the patches of real-world units. In Breakpoint, we're limited to certain countries, patches which make sense in the game setting in Aroa, but not really in real life. I'm talking about like the Azrael patch and the Succubus patch and all the rest of it. Named after the drones. Like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but why not add a patch where you can see it slightly resembles a real world unit? So for Army Special Forces, US, you would have the crossed arrows or something like that. Um, in Wildlands we had those patches. We had the trident for the seals. We had the crossed arrows for Green Berets. We even had, now granted it wasn't an arrow, but it was something that closely resembles the unit patch of Delta. Um, those things were implemented in a game which has, you know, more limited software than Breakpoint. And it's not a part of Breakpoint. And I think they missed a real opportunity there. Because a lot of people that play Breakpoint, like myself, are involved in milsims, and we're crying out for these things. But the devs aren't listening. You know, I would like to see um, a patch in game which, you know, resembles the black pararescue patch. You'll often see with pararescue they have their American flag on their shoulder in some cases, and on their vest is a black patch. It simply says PJ. Why are we not getting these things? You know, um, it's easy to implement. It doesn't go against any law or copyright issue or anything like that. It's just the devs got lazy, I think. They were doing the patches and looked back at Wildlands and just said, you know what, it's too much effort to copy and paste. That's honestly my opinion. In addition to the ones that I would like, Special Forces, Pararescue, What about a Ranger tab? Or black and white flag patches? You notice that on this character that I'm playing as right now, I'm using the Scott Mitchell top. It has a black and white infrared patch. However, we can't get that unless we wear that specific top. I think that the devs need to add some more patches to the game, which resemble more realistic world units from around the world, as well as more flag patches. My next point on the wish list is more realistic camouflage. We have certain camouflage patterns which are in use in real life, namely variations of multicam, AOR2, EXTP. In game it's called EXTP. In real life it's called Marpat. We have Canadian CADPAT. We have AOR1, although it was locked behind a paywall, which I don't agree with. But my suggestions include Swedish M90, the camouflage that the Swedish armed forces use. It was in Wildlands, but it's not in Breakpoint. You got the Danish M84. I'm not too sure if it was in Wildlands, but it's a really famous camouflage because the Danish Jaeger Corps use it. British MTP, the standard desert/arid camouflage that the British Armed Forces used in Afghanistan. It's a world-renowned camouflage now. Very famous for images of the British Army in Afghanistan. Next one, Irish DPM. A lot of people won't know this camouflage, but seeing as I am Irish, I had to put it on the list. We have something that slightly resembles it in the sense of Sentinel Urban, but again, that was locked behind a paywall. You have to balance what kind of stuff is on behind paywalls. I don't think camouflage should be on that list. I think paywalls should be reserved for more new vehicles or something along those lines. Gameplay features, perhaps, or something like that. Anyway, more realistic camouflage. My next point on the wish list is one that the community has been crying out for years. I would like to see the Black Hawk return. We had it in Wildlands. Why is this not a thing? It would be pretty easy to implement it. Copy over the handling lines and the animations from the Gyps helicopter, although that is the cheap way of doing it. I would like to see more animations for the Black Hawk. However, this is an easy way of doing it. Why is the Black Hawk not in this game? It's an iconic helicopter used in every single armed engagement since God knows when. People are crying out for it. Please put it back. In addition to this, I would like to see the Little Bird. I can't remember the designation for it, but another iconic helicopter. And again, easy to implement in-game. Copy over the animations from the Overseer. I've touched on this accidentally during this point. Handling lines of helicopters. The controls. The controls for helicopters in Wildlands were mountains better than Breakpoint. If you've ever flown a helicopter in Breakpoint and gone full speed forward, it is next to impossible to initiate a flare, which is essentially, in layman's terms, a helicopter wheelie. Units from around the world, air forces, air corps, etc., use this when they're coming into a landing zone. It's an iconic helicopter move. You could do it in Wildlands, but you can't in Breakpoint because of the handling lines. Another helicopter that I would like to see added to the game is the Chinook, the double-bladed transport helicopter. Granted, you would need some more animations for it, but I think it wouldn't be rocket science to add it to the game. And on the point of the Chinook, my dream list, I don't think this is a wish list anymore, I think it's a dream list, but the ability to sling load vehicles underneath the Chinook, be it a 4x4 or a boat. Please add these things. The Blackhawk, the Little Bird, the Chinook. These are iconic helicopters, and people are crying out for them. Sling loading vehicles, etc., I think is a bit too much to ask, although it would be nice. But please, add the Blackhawk, the Little Bird, and the Chinook. The next point on my wish list is the ability to keep moving while you're using hand signals when using real world players. When using the teammates, the AI. When you initiate a hand signal, you can keep moving. However, when you change over to multiplayer and you're using real players, as soon as you initiate a hand signal, your character will stand up if crouched, and he'll be locked in position for the duration of the animation. This will be easy to implement, as the hand signals for the AI teammates you're able to keep moving while you're using those. However, the ones that you use for real players, you're locked in place. I think this is an easy thing to implement, and it should have been done from the start. My next point comes to the customization of vests/gear. Now, I hate to bring up Wildlands yet again, but there were certain features which looked like Nomad and the rest of his team customized their vests. You would have a roll of tape, you would have zip ties, you would have different patch placements. You could implement this with the system of the system in game right now of blousing your boots. You know, how your character actually changes whether you blouse your boots or not. You could implement this feature for vests. Have toggleable accessories. You could have medkits on your vest, tourniquets, zip ties, rolls of tape, extra ammunition. It's a simple feature. It's not rocket science to add it, and it would make for a more versatile team when you're in game. As it stands, if everyone is using an AR, your vest will show up with PMags. Add a feature where you could customize which mags are on the vest. You could add this in the system of the system in play where you customize your weapon. How you can customize gear. It would make for a more versatile team in game. and would look infinitely better. Relating to my previous point of customization of vests and gear, I would like to see more backpacks in game with unique attributes. In Wildlands, again, you'd have certain features of backpacks which tie into the way you play the game, your playstyle. You'd have backpacks with drones on. You would have backpacks with ammo or a radio. Now, the radio one is already in game. However, I would like to see more backpacks with flashbangs on the back, chem lights, IR strobes. These are things that are easy in game, and yet they are not added. There is no reason for them not to be added. I feel the devs on this point have been extremely lazy. They've locked basic backpacks behind paywalls in the form of the Maritime Operations Pack, and the Airtight Pack, and the Versatile Pack. We need more backpacks in game with unique selling points, unique attributes, different attachments on them. And the feature that I mentioned in the previous point, ability to customize backpacks. You could have an external medkit, as I've said, external grenades, chem lights, IR strobes. These are all things that are possible. Now my next point will be, I don't know if it would be that possible to add in-game, but I would love to see a military location which has no hostiles. Basically, for milsim purposes, we need a location that is set up in a way that it looks like a base camp for a military. You know, if you added a wolf base or a wolf outpost, but just take away the wolves, this would be perfect, you know? I mean, I would be a bit selfish. I would ask for an airstrip location along with that. Something like, I believe it's called Outpost Blue Viper? I'm not too sure. That location with a military airstrip would be awesome. You could put it on an island, on its own, out in the middle of nowhere. I don't care. But we need a location which has no hostiles that looks half decent to be based out of. We're sick and tired of Erewhon. That brings me on to my next point of I would like to see more planes, specifically cargo planes. The AC-130. It wouldn't be that hard to implement. Again, touching on Wildlands, they had bigger planes, they had transport planes in that. As far as I know, in Breakpoint we're limited to one plane, or one plane type, that we can drive, fly even. But there's nothing bigger than that, and it's not armed. I would like to see an AC-130 with door guns, or a cargo version where you can get your team in the back. This would be a brilliant thing to add. Now the next point I'm gonna shout out is one that doesn't exactly, I want to say it's not exactly the wishes of everybody in the community, but certain people would like this, is an enemy replacer mode. Now, you have different modes in this game. You have the traditional, you've got the Operation whatever, Amber Sky. Terminator mode, and Resistance mode. Now, I haven't played Amber Sky or Terminator. I probably won't ever play that. But Resistance mode I do play, and Traditional I do play. But in both of those modes, you're battling wolves and Sentinel and no one else, and we're kind of sick about killing the same people over and over and over again. I would like to see a new enemy type added. You could put it in world parameter, or you could just implement it in game in normal mode. I wouldn't mind. But I am sick to death of killing the same enemies over and over. There's not even that many enemy models. You're killing the same people over and over and over again. I would like to see a new enemy type. Be it military, terrorist. We had cartels in Wildlands, so I don't think that would be appropriate for this game. But either an external military force or terrorists or something along those lines. Sentinel and Wolves, they have their place. I don't think that still in year 2 we should be killing the same guys over and over. I would like to see a new enemy type. Alright, I have a couple of more points, but I'm going to knock these out pretty quick. Better ghillie suits. This needs to be a thing. The ghillie suits in game are terrible. The ones in Wildlands you can put over your different outfits and everything. In this game you have to select them as replacers for certain things. You know, in the way that you replace your top or replace your pants or replace your face mask. But ghillie hoods replace your entire headwear. The only thing you can use is glasses. It makes absolutely no sense. Maybe clipping issues. Honestly, I wouldn't care about clipping issues as long as we get some realistic ghillie suits. You know what I mean? Touching on my point from earlier about a military location with no hostiles, one thing that you could do is bring in the USS Wasp into the waters of Oroa. You could either go out to it on a boat, go out to it on a helicopter, something like that. I mean, you made all this big song and dance about having the USS Wasp offshore and everything like that, and yet there's no evidence that it's offshore. I know the drones swarm and all that, but like, the drones shouldn't have been in the game in the first place. You even added a way to turn them off, you know? So I would like to see the USS Wasp offshore. If not able to get onto it, then at least see it. If you were able to get onto it, I would like to see maybe not fighter jets, but the air-to-ground type planes, jets that are used in real life. The A-10, perhaps, or the F-18. And coming to my last and most important point, more team slots for real players. We're still limited to 4 people in a world where 30-man multiplayer, 120-man multiplayer is a thing. We get 4. Fix this. Really, it's pathetic. I would like to see at least 6 to 8 people in the same lobby. I mean, having 4 people limited when you have, you know, say milsim communities of up to 30, 40 people, and only 4 can play together at the same time, it severely limits the enjoyment you get out of the game. 6 to 8 players I would like to see. Honestly, if it was up to me, I'd have either 12 or 16. That would be something that would be absolutely amazing. However, I know the limits of the game, but I think 6 to 8 players could operate in the game together. I mean, in PvP, you can have 8 players in the same instance. So, the game supports it. The game definitely will not crash if 8 people are in the same instance together. Make that 9 because you technically have an observer as well. So the game supports it. I mean, why limit it to 4? You know, this shouldn't be a thing in modern day. I mean, 4-man multiplayer is Xbox 360 territory. You know, we're at PS4 and PS5 territory now. Even actually, on that point of Xbox 360 territory, you still had 30-man multiplayer in GTA 5 when it first came out. You've got, I believe it's 120, 130, no, 150-man multiplayer in Call of Duty. And that's supported on PS4. It's not rocket science to give us a few extra players in game, you know. Anyway, on that point, I'll wrap up this video. This has been my wish list and potential suggestions of how to implement it. I doubt we're going to get any of these. Maybe with Operation Motherland we might see something along the lines of the Black Hawk or something like that. I'm praying. But, you know, I'm not holding my breath. I have no real hope for Year 3 content. At this point, I would just, if I was the developer, I would cut my losses and just make a new Ghost Recon game, which facilitates more to the real world side of things rather than the sci-fi drones setting. Yeah, I guess I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you for listening to my Ghost Recon Breakpoint wishlist. If you were interested in joining a realistic milsim, I'll leave my Discord in the description below, and you can message me and we'll have a chat and see about getting you in the community. If you like this video, I would greatly appreciate a like. It does help the channel. Consider subscribing. And if you dislike the video, no worries. You're free to click the dislike button and move on. Thank you very much. I am Jester. I'll see you guys next time.